Introduction to Economics, Roots of Economic Way of Thinking, Part 9, adapted from my college notes taken a couple of years ago. Presented by Doug Bainbridge. Another look at supply and demand analysis. Free trade is often spoken about and analyzed in the news and in everyday conversations. There are many opinions regarding that I will not share here, as the following analysis is just a very simple look at a way to analyze the status of U.S. consumers of televisions before and after Japanese televisions are imported. I will leave the political discussions for other forums. This will cover economics. Introduction to the graph involved. Below is a simple look at the graph that will follow this, that will analyze the trade example we're going over at the moment. The basics are, you see the demand curve that's computed as a function of the price of substitutes, price of complements, income, and other factors. The yellow triangle is considered the consumer surplus or the consumer gains. The producer's gains are the rectangle below that. And the total value equals consumer surplus plus producer's gains. Now to cover importing Japanese televisions to the American market. Before trade, the total value equals the area made up of the trapezoid with points A at the top there, B down along the demand curve, Q sub 0 down at the bottom there, and 0 in the lower left hand corner. That trapezoid represents the total value involved before trade. The U.S. producers' gains, that is in this case the U.S. producers of televisions before trade, equals rectangle represented by P, or the price sub 0, letter B on the demand curve, Q0, Q sub 0 at the bottom there, and 0 in the lower left hand corner. That rectangle represents the U.S. television producers' gains before trade. The U.S. consumer surplus or gains equals the triangle A, B, and P for the price sub 0. So that triangle area there represents the U.S. consumer, in this case of televisions, gains. And now to continue. After trade, the total value equals trapezoid A, point E, point Q sub 1, and point 0, the lower left hand corner. So in other words, the total value after trade is larger. The total producer's gains after trade is represented by rectangle P sub 1, which is the lower price now because we've increased the supply of televisions in the marketplace. Point E, point Q sub 1, and point 0 in the lower left hand corner. So the total producer's gains now represents that rectangle. The U.S. consumer surplus or gains equals the triangle A, E, and P sub 1, the lower price. So that U.S. consumer surplus or gain is more than before trade. The U.S. producers' gains equals rectangle P sub 1 D Q sub 0 and 0, which is the lower left hand corner. So you can see where that rectangle is now smaller than before. So there's motivation for U.S. producers perhaps to not want to have this trade go on. But as you see above, the U.S. consumers gain from the whole process. But that's discussion for a later time, but wanted to point that out. And then after trade, the Japanese producers' gains equals rectangle represented by D, E, point Q0, point Q1. Conclusions. Originally, the U.S. had trapezoid A, B, Q sub 0, 0. After trade, U.S. gains are the original trapezoid plus triangle B, D, and E. So there are two things that result by having this trade proceed. There's a transfer of wealth, and there's an expansion of trade. I hope at least this has given some ideas on how to look further into this subject. And for now, I'll stop. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. Have a great day.